Junior, how do you work these controls?
Daddy, I told you shouldn't disable the ship's computer. It's like we're flying blind.
Don't tell me what I should and should not do. That thing wouldn't have allowed us to take off. If we can't capture the ones we came here for, we can just take their ship. Now stop your yammering and get us out of this rock.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Without the ship's computer, I don't know how to use the scanners, the navigation. Such a simple task. When BT was just learning how to fly, he didn't rely on scanners or fancy computers. They did everything by the seat of their pants. The controls of the Acid Rat weren't like the police cruiser. He and Junior had figured out how to take off easily enough, and the navigation controls were fairly standard. All they needed to do was fly around until they found an opening.
Where did we come in? Can't you find that hole again?
Sheriff Justice, that hole closed over as soon as we came inside.
That's right. You've got scanners on that little cruiser. Find us a way out of here.
Officer Gumshaw had taken the police cruiser, and it still had its computer fully intact. I've been looking. During the last quake, 2 holes opened at either pole, but those have closed now. That was it. They just needed to head to one of the poles of the planet and wait for those holes to open up again.
Junior, that way!
Junior pressed buttons, flipped levers, and guided the ship up. At least it looked like up. They'd been flying toward the dimming star in the middle of the planet. Now the star fell away, and they were pointed up toward a barren spot at the pole. He couldn't make out just where the hole should be, but it had to be there, just like the other hole they'd fallen through, but was now closed. This one had to be there. It just had to. What better justice to serve on Vic and the crew of the SS Acid Rat than to strand them in the middle of a planet with no way to ever get out again? I don't think we're going to be able to get out that way. Not unless something happens.
Explain yourself, officer. That hole was there before. Why won't it open again?
I'm looking at the logs on the ship, and based on what I'm seeing here,
Junior, steer away! There's another blip on the screen. They're not going to catch up. Go that way!
BT Justice was starting to understand a little bit about why Vic found this little game of cat and mouse so amusing. He felt a little thrill keeping away from those who were trying to recapture the Acid Rat. They'd tried a few times, and failed. They would fail again this time. Even though he'd never driven with Junior, BT preferred to be in control. The boy proved to be darn good at evading capture. Perhaps he'd say something to the boy later. Right now, he just wanted to enjoy the little time alone he had with the boy. Daddy, we got away from them, but I thought I saw something else coming this way. What did you see?
Well, Junior, why don't I... Some bitches! Where'd they come from?
4 ships appeared on the screen and were closing in fast. He'd assumed that the beings inside the planet were just stupid. Apparently they were learning. Perhaps it was that Vic character teaching them how to capture someone. Now it wasn't that funny. The mouse chasing the cat. Perhaps they should just let them capture him, and then he'd be able to take them all into custody and hightail it out of there.
Does this thing have any weapons on it, Junior?
Hold on to your hat, Daddy! Junior did some fancy maneuvering and took them closer to the center star. BT Justice pulled a pair of sunglasses out of his pocket and put them on. Even though the star was growing dimmer since they'd first arrived, it was still too bright to stare into. Daddy, I think there should be a control to make the view screen darker. BT frowned. He had his sunglasses. Why didn't Junior have his handy? He still looked at the controls, and finally found one and flipped a switch. A shield came up and covered the view screen. Not that one, Daddy! That's the blast shield!
Huh! Well, it's not like I labeled these.
He flipped the switch and the shield came back down. He flipped the switch next to it. The viewer darkened. Junior should have remembered his sunglasses. Then he could spend more time flying and evading rather than just complaining. BT looked down at the control screen. The 4 blips kept coming.
So, do we have any weapons on this thing or not? Are we going to have to rely on your fancy flying to get us out of here?
Stan and I did a lot of flying around. He taught me a lot of things. I think I can evade them. Oh, I taught him a lot of things all right, Stan said. Stan, my dad is here. Not now.
What are you 2 nitwits talking about? Just get us out of here. We don't have all day. These blob things are getting smarter. It's like they figured out how to chase us. Now get a move on.
Stan, are you able to detect if the hole on the poles have opened? Junior turned her control, and the center star dipped away and then came back into view. Nothing, Junior. It's like they know we're trying to get out of here and preventing us from escaping.
I don't know what you think you're doing, Junior, but those ships are still getting closer. I thought Stan taught you a thing or two about flying.
Daddy, I'm doing the best I can. Sweat had started to bead on Junior's brow. This wasn't a time to sweat. This was a time for them to get away and trap Vic and his crew. If he couldn't capture them, at least he could have a souvenir. That was it. He could capture them. They didn't have any weapons. All the weapons were on this ship. All they had to do was allow the crew to get on board, and they could capture them. It was brilliant. They'd think they'd won, and it would all be over.
Junior, open the cargo bay doors. Stan, get that cruiser in here. I have a plan. They'll never see this coming.
You've been listening to Hollow, V&A Shipping, Book 2, written and read by J.R. Murdoch. For more information about this production and its author, visit jrmurdoch.com. There are a lot of ways you can choose to spend your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me.